Shalom, I'm Moreh Matan, and welcome to this week's Moreh Minute. This week our Torah portion is called Vayikra. It's the first Torah portion in the book of Vayikra, or Leviticus. Something that's interesting about this book, and if you're unfamiliar with this might come as a surprise to you, and that is, Jewish children are very first taught this book in their Torah study. Can you imagine that? Why not start with the book of Genesis? They start with the book of Leviticus, our rabbis say, because the offerings that are mentioned in the book of Leviticus are pure, just as the heart of a little child is pure. And so the pure is learning about the pure. I've always found this a fascinating idea. In this first Torah portion, we learn about the fire offerings that are offered up on the altar. This can be kind of confusing to those of us that grew up in church and may have the idea that the sacrifices were completely done away with because the Messiah died. Now, just because Yeshua died, it doesn't mean that all of the sacrifices are done away with. In fact, the Bible tells us in the prophets that when the kingdom is established, when the Messiah returns, the temple will be rebuilt and sacrifices will continue. This is a bone of contention with people that grew up in church, but we have to remember that even though Yeshua had died, for 40 years after his death and resurrection, Paul and Peter and John and the other apostles continued making sacrifices at the temple. If those were done away with, why did they continue doing them? But this is a conversation for another lesson. What I'd like to focus in on is the differences, but also the similarities in the different fire offerings. Several different animals are prescribed for sacrifice, but also there are what's known as meal offerings or grain offerings, where bread is actually given. Now, this is a very interesting concept, but something is brought down by the sages in the Talmud in Tractate Menachot 110a, and it says this. It says of a large ox, an offering made by fire, a sweet savor, or a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It also says of a small bird, a fire offering, a sweet savor. And it also says a meal offering, a fire offering, a sweet savor. So why does it say the same thing about each of these different types of offerings? Well, what the sages say to us in the Talmud is this is to teach us that the cost of the offering or the size of the offering doesn't matter as long as the person is giving that offering with their heart directed toward heaven. The great equalizer is our kavanah, the intent of our heart as we give an offering. I think this is beautifully illustrated in the Gospels, where Yeshua talks about an older woman that gives 2 small coins, and he says of her that she gave more than anybody else because she gave out of her need, while others gave out of their abundance. This is a really interesting fact to me, that God looks at the intent of our heart. This speaks to when Samuel the prophet was looking over David's brothers, wanting to anoint the new king, but the one that was supposed to be king wasn't there. There was one brother missing. It was David. He was smaller and he was out looking over the flock. And what God said to Samuel is, man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. In these times where what we can offer up might seem small, what you can offer up is maybe by giving online to the ministry that you're a part of. That's what we are doing at our church. We're asking people to give online. We're only a few people in the last few weeks had taken advantage of that. Right now, it's how 100% of our budget comes in because we're not permitted to meet together for regular services. Maybe your offering is giving online to your particular ministry. Maybe you have an additional offering that you could give. Maybe your offering is a gift. I was speaking with someone recently that said they would like to use their gift of music on Facebook Live to encourage people during this COVID-19 pandemic, but they were a little nervous about doing it. Listen, when the intent of our heart is correct, then we will be given the right attitude and the right strength to do something that we might be shy to do. This is the time for us to use our gifts. Some of us have a large gift, which would be like the large ox that's offered up on the altar. Some may have a gift that we think is a little smaller. It might just be like a small bird. And even still, some may have a gift that's like a meal offering. It might just be like some bread that we could offer up for the Lord. But the point is the intent of our heart. The intent of the heart is what matters. And during this time, if you could offer encouragement, then you need to do it. If God is impressing on your heart to do something with social media to get the gospel out, then I think you're doing something wrong if you say no to that leading of the Spirit in your life. I have been so encouraged to see churches and synagogues getting out the word via social media, via live streaming and other videos. Our parent ministry, Ahavat Ami Ministries and Yeshivat Shuvu, they have been doing a morning shachrit, a morning prayer service on certain days, and doing a Shabbat service. My local synagogue, Congregation Beth Judah, has been doing that, streaming from the Rabbi and Rebbitzon's home, a Shabbat service. These types of things can continue to link us together and to help us remember, no matter what it is that we have to offer, if our heart is in the right place, directed toward heaven, as the Talmud says, then all of these things are equal to the Lord. It is all a pleasing aroma. Thank you for joining me. I'm Moreh Matan, and I want to direct you to kosherpastor.com. Go to the About section there, the About page, and learn how you can sign up for the Kosher Pastor program. Right now, we're offering a bit of a discount, so you can go there and learn. Also, it is the introduction to a larger, years-long teaching program, Yeshivat Shuvu, a full Messianic Jewish yeshiva, the largest online yeshiva in the world. Check it out, enroll, use this time productively as you increase your knowledge and you enhance your spiritual life and connectedness to the body of Messiah. Shalom, be well. God's blessings to all of you. Kol Tuv.